Beautiful music there from Lydia Ndwiga, and her pianist Willis Raburu has made it his mission over the last couple of days to remind us that the festive season is here. Christmas is just around the corner. He's reminding me now that it's 5 days and counting, and we certainly hope that that music has helped you to get into the right spirit. Let's take a look at another big story in the paper shortly, and I take you now to page 4 of the Standard. But before that, let me remind you of a story that we did last night. At least 180 people have died in road accidents over the last couple of days. This story is brought to you by Sam Gituku. Now, just to remind us of where we are, and of course that directed by CS Matiang'i as well, where he has targeted circles, driving schools, so as to check road accidents. Here is that report.
After weeks of distress on the roads with at least 180 people losing their lives this month alone, the Transport and Interior Ministries have flagged 5 major routes as death traps. The Northern Corridor or Mombasa to Malaba Road tops the list, followed by Nairobi, Thika, Sagana and Mai Mahiu, Narok, Kisii routes. Other routes are Kericho, Kisumu and Kisii, Ahero.
2.4 million vehicles are private. The PSVs are only 200,000. However, the accidents have been disproportionate with regard to the public service vehicles.
The Transport CA is directing that owners of such vehicles must ensure no driver stays on the road for more than 8 hours continuously. Operators holding a license to operate at night also being required to undergo fresh vetting. The government will also ban circles whose drivers have been involved in road crashes. Drivers of such vehicles will have their licenses revoked for causing death by dangerous driving, a fate that will also befall those caught exceeding speed limits. Killer drivers will be charged with murder and face the death sentence if found guilty. Drivers involved in unfatal road crashes will be subjected to a driving test. To monitor the conduct of drivers, the National Transport and Safety Authority will be required to maintain a database of all PSV drivers where offenders can be blacklisted automatically. Personnel information of individuals wishing to be employed as drivers will have to be cross-checked with that in the database. To enhance this, the new generation license is set to be rolled out from next month. The license, which is a card with a tracking chip, can be automatically revoked. According to the Transport CS, all drivers will be retrained from January, with priority given to the PSV drivers. Acting Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i also directed that all driving schools must reapply for operating licenses. Matiang'i also ordering the reorganization of the Traffic Police Department, which he accuses of runaway corruption.
We're equally frustrated by the fact that the ongoing review of the police identified 127 traffic police officers who were kicked out and they all went to court and arrived promptly with court orders to continue doing what they are doing on our roads. Driving schools, I would like an inventory. We want to know who they are, what qualifications they have, and they will have a raft of conditions to fulfill before they can be re-registered to actually offer any driving and any instructions for people using the roads.
This as the Transport and Infrastructure docket announced that footbridges will be constructed along major Nairobi roads like the Thika Super Highway, where 9 bridges will be put up. The expanded Outer Ring Road will see 14 bridges erected, while the Southern Bypass has been assigned 5. At the Kila Kibunja Salgas stretch along Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, 3 emergency runaway truck ramps will be constructed for drivers to stop in case of incidences. A bay for checking the temperature of lorries' brakes will be built at Kibunja. Lorries whose brakes temperature exceeds specific limits will be withdrawn from the roads and licenses withdrawn.
From today it will not be business as usual. That's for sure. The fact that we have not issued signals before doesn't mean that a lot has not been done in preparation for what we are going to do.
And as the Christmas season kicks in, NTSA is directing motorists whose cars break down on the road to clear the scene within 1 hour, failure to which they will be towed to the nearest police station. On the face of it, it would appear as measures that could get to the root of the menace that road carnage is. However, in the short term, it is going to take more than that. More of faithfulness to the traffic rules by drivers, as well as collective responsibility and observance of safety by road users. Sam Gituku, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And of course, this topic makes, of course, is covered quite comprehensively in today's Nation and Standard. On the Standard, the front page, a smaller headline: Matiang'i's new tough rules, penalties to curb accidents. And we take you to page 4, where the main story is. So for PSVs and trucks, drivers caught under the influence to have their licenses revoked. Drivers involved in non-fatal accidents to redo driving tests. blacklisting of drivers who have a history of traffic offences, SACCOs with poor traffic records to be deregistered, suspension on issuance of temporary licenses for the festive season as for matatus. When it comes to private cars, no private vehicles should operate as a PSV. Your Toyota Sienna, Wish and Probox fall into this category. Vehicles should adhere to the speed limit. The maximum number of hours a driver of a public vehicle is expected to work per day is 8 hours. And of course, other tough measures will be the new driving licenses, a database for all drivers created by NTSA, and all drivers of particularly of PSV vehicles will be retrained or trained again in a phased manner commencing January 2018. Dancer, let me start with you. Are we now moving in the right direction or not yet?
I think I support fully the CS Matiang'i and Macharia for the effort that they are trying to do. One, the root cause of the carnage on the road is twofold. One, the drivers. That is one aspect. They now seem to get that drivers are manufactured at driving schools. And those driving schools are not anything called driving schools. They are ramshackles of collecting money and taking those papers to NTSA to get driving licenses. So once they fix the quality and qualification of the people who are driving instructors and the graduates from that area, that is one area. The second area they need to deal with is the enforcement of those laws. Kenya has so many laws. I'll advise them that research, and my two councils will admit that there is always, everybody knows that if you kill somebody, there is only one sentence, death. But still people are killing people. So the question that the penalties are more stiffer does not change the people the way they deal with. So the third solution I will give them is to discuss details. Why do Kenyans still know that this is a death trap? And they get it. For lawyers they call violence and unfit injury. That I know that I'm going to die when I board a matatu that has 25 people inside, and that matatu is supposed to carry 14, and I get inside. I get into a probox. You've seen those probox? Behind the probox, the booth, there are more than 20 guys inside, hanging very dangerously, and they do very well. So the question is, what is wrong with Kenyans? What is wrong with us? As a nation, we need to start learning. Walk, drive along hospitals. There is a very big poster, don't hoot here. That is the place a Kenyan driver will hoot so hard. The speed limit on this road is 80. The driver will be doing 140. Until we have got to erect physical bumps. Who doesn't know that Salga is a black spot? Every Kenyan knows in this country that Salga is a dangerous spot. Every day accidents are there. So to me, as they do this, we need another discourse. We need to change the mindset of Kenyans. Okay. That it's not about the life of other people, it's the life of you, the driver. When you see drivers about alcohol blue, what do you see? People are running away from the police. Why? They want to be allowed to drink and drive. When a matatu is impounded, in having mistakes, when the passengers are told get out,
they protest.
They protest and say, well, chukua number plate, take the guy to court tomorrow, but let us proceed. So the question is, do we value our life?
Good question, and that's something that I want Mary to weigh in on. Even as some have responded to Matiang'i's approach yesterday, they are concerned that it's narrow-minded. They say that there are other factors that should be taken into consideration. There are many causes of accidents in this country, and so his approach, although a step in the right direction, is still not sufficient. How do you feel about that?
It's about time that we create rules and regulations that will ensure that we reduce the number of deaths on our roads. When I was a young girl, the school that I went to taught us about, first, as a pedestrian, how to cross roads. Because we have a big problem in our society where the pedestrian feels that it is also their right to walk on the road. Half the time I can understand why they're doing that, because there is no pavement for them. But the problem now is we've got pavements that do not exist, we have pedestrians on the road, then we have other vehicles that shouldn't be on the road other than cars, mkokotenis, we have border borders doing all manner of things. And it's a reflection of our society. We are not teaching individuals. This is a very dangerous environment. This is not a fun-filled environment where I can just jump into my car and speed away and look glamorous. When we went through this education process as young children, we were told people died. We were told people lost use of their limbs. People were blinded. So by the time I was going to driving school, I knew this was a serious affair. But I feel we've lost that right now. It's very easy to buy anything in this country so long as you have enough money. And we're seeing that also happening in terms of our driving license. I have heard people openly say, oh, I didn't even go for lessons, all I did was pay, and then I jumped into the car because I've seen my mum drive or I've seen my friend drive, and I know what to do. No, you do not. A lot of us were taught how to drive on stick shifts. We were taken on steep hills and taught how to reverse, do 3-point turns, and you had to do a 3-point turn and not a 7-point turn. On my way here today, I missed an accident just by the hair of my skin, because basically this matatu decides to reverse into me. Had I not been aware, had I not been driving slowly, it would have been a whole different story. We need to do something, and like Dunstan has pointed out, we need to enforce these rules, because if I commit an offense, then I will be held accountable. That is what I want to see.
Okay. George, your thoughts as well on this?
Well, I think it all coalesces into the Kenyan culture, ultimately. The culture of shortcuts.
I was going to ask, what is the Kenyan culture? Define it for us.
The Kenyan culture is a culture of shortcuts, culture of convenience.
Convenience.
You do not want to be disturbed. Okay, so here's a policeman who stops you and tells you, come to court tomorrow and here is the bond. What do you want? He tells you, know what, I'm not going to come. How much do you want? And that's a negotiation every day that happens, whether we talk about it or we don't talk about it. Now, decisions, everybody participates in accidents. Everybody. And I tell you so because the indiscipline and participation in the indisciplines is almost cross-sectional, including government officials. Those that drive the governors, those that drive the president, those that drive even ambulances. They do not restrict themselves to the convenience they're being given in terms of movement. They don't have a patient, but they still put on the silent because they want to get home faster. Or, go back to hospital and park the car and move on. You see, that's the Kenyan culture. The other day, an accident happens. We all cried because a train hit a matatu and killed people. You know what had happened? It is a shortcut that has never been designated as a road, but it's a railway crossing. It's in the morning and there's rush. What does the policeman do? He diverts. Because he wants to, the traffic, it's heavy, he diverts it through that path so that they can connect. That was somewhere on Jogoo Road. The train is coming, but the cars are parked in front, back, and on the side, and in fact, the two sides of the tires, the front and the back, are actually in midsection of the railway track. What happens? The train can't stand. The locomotive won't stop. It picks everyone and goes with them. You see, and again, on the side, we have structures. The drivers can't even see. The policeman who is enforcing that can't even see the train coming. He can't see the road. So there's a lot of disconnect in terms of the entire system. So what happens? What should we do? I think that's what we should do. We should be ruthless in enforcement. And that's the only language a Kenyan will understand. Well, at first there was, we looked at Michoki and were like, what are you trying to do? We're doing this war.
You inconvenienced Kenyans, yes. And there were a lot of complaints then when he started.
Ultimately, Kenyans today sing praise of his effort on account of the fact that, yes, lives were actually saved. Well, if people had died then we'll have seen how many will have died. But now that people didn't die, we can't say how many were saved, because they didn't die anyway. So, until we see the bad effect, the death, we do not know that will have been saved. But if it is to be saved, then it's like the policeman. If there's no terrorist attack, you think they're doing nothing because, well, we don't know that it was prevented. But if there is a terrorist attack, that's when we know that they never worked. Now, what the good county, the good Matiang'i is trying to do is doing what ought to be done by everyone.
Okay.
Enforcement.
Okay.
And you know, it doesn't start at the top when somebody is driving. Like my good friend says, it starts from training.
Yes.
You know, 1 month you have a driving license, 30 days you have a driving license. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It doesn't.
Okay. And
well, I would have wanted to conveniently get my driving license in 30 days, but I shouldn't.
To have it delivered to your home. Duncan, we know that in December 2012, the government enacted a new traffic act, or an amendment, depending on how you look at it, with draconian penalties for offending drivers. This sounds familiar. In 4 months, it netted the government of Kenya over 500 million in fines, but did not quite reduce road carnage if we are back here again. But then it was hailed as a great success, I guess, especially because of the way in which money was collected, etc. How sure are we that this call by Matiang'i will not go a similar way? Right now it might be celebrated, but especially if we see changes in the cabinet and new people come to enforce these rules who are not on board to begin with, we're getting into a new year, you know, how sure are we that we won't find ourselves in the same situation?
I'll tell you for free, Kenyans are ready to pay fines. Either fine in form of corruption on the road, either in the fine in form of that statutory fine on the road or in court, so long as they rush the way where they want to go. That is the, my good friend Kitty says, the culture of Kenyans. Michael Joseph of Safaricom said that everybody will wait and start calling on Safaricom lines from 5. The whole day you have been there to fix an appointment that we are meeting, but at 5 and 5:30 the systems collapse. So the question of rushing the last minute, we know very well Christmas is on 25th. People are busy. They have not done anything. They will start driving as if the roads are ending on 24th. School uniforms, people know they are supposed to be bought. There is school outfitters are there. Go to that place on the 2nd when schools are reporting. Then you ask yourself, what is happening? So there is a serious mindset question. The culture of Kenyans, and we need a national discussion. We are talking about drivers. What about the passenger? That's a question. Here is a driver who is drunk. He has been carried by the passengers and fixed on the driving seat. And the passengers are very comfortable. They believe this guy will drive them all the way. Here is a bus driver who has almost missed accidents to Mombasa 10 times. Every time there's a roadblock. Whenever the police flags down this bus, the passengers don't tell the police, this man is drunk. So to me, the CS Matiang'i, he moved people, and the reforms in the education sector carried every Kenyan. Michuki carried every Kenyan in the reforms in the infrastructure and the transport sector. I hope this time, the fourth estate, although Council says the fourth government is the KDF, to me the fourth government is the media. If the media buys into this story and tries to put people to check, so that we move along with Matiang'i and we agree as Kenyans that it is my life. The president has put it very clearly, the question of security. Why do we always tell the president there is insecurity, and the person who is going to kill you is your neighbor who you have never bothered? Has the Mbakumu initiative succeeded? No, because Kenyans say it's not my business, it's the president's business. Now we are saying it's Matiang'i's business. To me, my take could be that the people who die are Kenyans, and it is the Kenyans who should now start saying, we've seen a driver who is making a mistake. This country has not more than 5,000 traffic police officers. If they are there, there'll be 6,000. Compared to the number of vehicles on the road, are we going to put traffic police officers to man each vehicle? It is impossible. So unless the mindset, unless Kenyans change, we have phones, everybody has a phone. On the road you'll see a road hawk. There are programs you used to run here. What happened? You could capture vehicles. Very many of the vehicles were government vehicles. Very many of those vehicles were the people who is ruling this nation. What happened? Either the pressure from those people, those programs went off. So in my own view, we as Kenyans need to discuss. We have been talking about the voters we've been talking about the culture of the voters, and we said, who is a Kenyan voter? Why do we always ask who is a Kenyan? Walk to Uganda here, walk to Tanzania here. The mannerisms of driving is totally the opposite. Even Somali.
I think now I'll have to interrupt you there. Take a break. Mary, let me bring you in right now and get your thoughts. Do you think Matiang'i should have spent more time yesterday talking about how graft has contributed to the accidents that we have in this country? Graft in terms of regulation, graft in terms of cars not being properly scrutinized, graft in terms of police officers who receive money, etc. Do you? Because many onliners yesterday were saying, we hoped you would have spoken more about corruption and how corruption has contributed to the state of the nation, especially on our roads right now.
I do agree that that should have been part of his address, but I feel that first and foremost he wanted to make it clear that the government is going to do something about the deaths, first and foremost. And I believe that will come in later. But what Dunstan was pointing out is, first and foremost, as Kenyans, we also need to understand, what does it mean when we violate these rules? We're not violating them so that we can have an easy time on the road. We're violating them, and then we're endangering our own lives. We see many people putting their children on their laps on the passenger seat. That is one horrific thing. And you will tell them this is very dangerous, but they do not know. So I believe the media also needs to step in and explain to people, this is what happens if you put a child on your lap and you get into just a minor accident. You're just hitting a car in front of you. Your child will fly through that windscreen. If the child is seated at the back and you put that child in your lap, that child is going to hit the chair that is in front of them. And you see this happening in very many countries where there is order on the road, because they have gone through what we have gone through. So what I believe we should do here is look at best practices worldwide and see where it is that we have made mistakes. Because I believe if Kenyans understand the dangers that they're going to face by just not buckling in, by just not putting their child in a proper seat, by just not sitting the number of people in that car, then they will stop being corrupt and paying off the policemen. Number two, I believe we can take away some of these fines from the court system and maybe have a system where the fines are not as punitive, but they are consistent. And the number that you get will reduce your capacity to drive. If in a month you have violated a number of traffic rules, then you lose your license for 3 months. And you know what that means in Nairobi. You're going to have to take a matatu, which is a very tiresome affair. So I believe if we make it difficult for drivers to actually violate these laws, they will begin to follow the laws, because that's what people do in other countries. Courtesy, just basic courtesy on our road. If you drive properly in Nairobi, guaranteed you'll be in an accident in half an hour. You have to become as tough as the person next to you, unfortunately. For people who got their license 20, 30 years ago, they go into panic mode, driving in Nairobi. I personally don't drive outside of Nairobi. I cannot hit the highway unless I'm forced to, because it is the most frightening thing in the world. But I believe we need to start educating our drivers and passengers as to the dangers of some of the things they think is just, you know, what for.
George, you've been quite quiet. I can allow you now to come in.
Well, I'm just thinking, the fact that you've not caused an accident as a driver does not make you a good driver either. You know, because look at the matatus, for instance. Some of them don't actually cause accidents, but they make others cause accidents. So the discipline is far, the indiscipline is far so wide that where you start to enforce has to be an element of brutal enforcement of the law. Not brutal in terms of violating the law, but you see, cracking the whip, and consistently and persistently and insistently, so much so that there is a fear factor in breach of the law. You see, a Kenyan follows or does what is right because of the fear, not because you volunteer to do what is right, especially on the roads. You see, it is very easy for you to take a shortcut because there's no policeman whatsoever. In fact, when you drive at 10 p.m. in Nairobi and that many cars and you're told to stop at the red lights, you pass because it is convenient. Why are you waiting anyway? In fact, you won't feel guilty at all because you've not caused an accident. Now, not causing an accident should not be the only measure as to whether you're a good driver or not. I think a good driver is one who follows the rules as they are set. Now, the bigger picture of this is this. You see, in a society, there's what we call order. Order is created by the rules. Now, how rules come to be is because they organize us in a certain fashion. Drive on the left, zebra crossing, blah, blah, all that. When we follow those rules to the latter, what happens is you give the next person a chance to anticipate you. And therefore, any movement is all organized because we are a mass of a movement every day. Pedestrian crossing, they stop and then they move and we move on. If we all follow the order as we relate to each other organized by law, it will be very simple because we all know what is right. Now, to know what is right for a Kenyan and to do what is right are two distinct issues, completely unrelated.
Okay. So many SMSs here. I've just checked on. I can't believe how many people are following this discussion. Let me read a couple of them and I'll give each of you a chance to respond even as we are about to wind up. Lucy from Kasarani says, my take on road carnage, the traffic police department is contributing a lot to this through condoning errant drivers and unroadworthy vehicles. When bribed last night, I witnessed a lorry without headlights being driven at night. Another person here, you don't give us your name, but you say another cause of accidents is unmarked bumps and unmarked roads. There is need for more dual carriageways on routes with heavy traffic. Another anonymous person watching says, or you haven't given us your name or location, motorcycles are being driven so carelessly that motorists are the ones who keep on trying to avoid them. Matatu drivers, especially minibuses, are driven carefully without minding other users. You suddenly find a matatu on a pavement, barely missing pedestrians. DL Monyani from Tito Ande says, harsh rules and talking too much on TV will not prevent road carnage. Our roads are too narrow and in bad condition. If we improve our roads, that is how we will deal with this. While one last person says, the day CS Matiang'i will stop the police from taking bribes from motorists is the day deaths will stop on our roads. Anything else is just noise making. Dunstan?
Those are the viewers, those are what the viewers are saying. Each one has specifically identified a traffic offense he or she saw, and therefore is the totality of the transport sector, from the vehicles to the police officers to the pedestrians to the motor, for example the motorcycle borders. Oh gosh, a guy just walks to an Indian duka shop, buys a motorcycle, he's shown how to drive, in 3 minutes he's on a helmet carrying passengers. Whoever regulates and walk to hospitals, especially public hospitals, and see the number of guys whose limbs are broken, and you ask them, what is the problem? Boda boda. What is the problem? Boda boda. So we need to relook afresh the totality of the transport sector. There was a time the rule said public transport vehicles should not travel at night. What happened? They came back because of commercial gain. 2, what happened? There was a question that was put to Kenyans, and Kenyans said very well that let these drivers work for 8 hours. Today, you have, especially like now this Christmas, these people travel almost 48 hours. One driver. Have we forgotten those Michuki rules? Why can't we bring them, however painful that they are? But as much as we talk, that last person from Voi who said a lot of harsh rules and talk shows will not solve the problem. The only way we can solve this problem is for us to know that it is our life, it is my life. She has just said she missed an accident. The very many people who die on these roads are the innocent people. You are driving at a speed of 80, behind there is a road hog driving at 170. The guy is already in Miranda asleep. He'll crush you from behind. So you'll be forced to be alert. So you will have to overspeed. But more than anything else, my prayer is that let government rein in viciously on the owners of the vehicles in a manner that it becomes totally unattractive. And the police reforms collapsed. There were recommendations that the traffic police officers should be under the normal commander of the police at the division. they frustrated it. Again, the Department of Traffic is independent of the police. Why can't the traffic police officers be any police officer? The training is the same at Kiganjo, so that we have today, George is assigned traffic police duties today, tomorrow is assigned general duties, tomorrow she goes to court, so that we have a rotational of that way
that you can avoid corruption. So, someone here, Muturia, says, just to agree with what you're saying, there is no gain without pain. Drivers need to feel the pinch of their actions when they commit traffic offences. I suggest Matiang'i introduces insurance for drivers. I don't understand that last line. May I give you a chance now to give us your final thoughts and to respond to some of these SMSs as well.
The individuals who are very angry and feel that we're just, talking and it's empty talk and there are no solutions. Solutions can be suggested. For instance, a dash cam, a camera on a dashboard where the police are stopping individuals, there's a car or there's a camera recording constantly what is happening. That will put the policeman on check and also put the errant driver on check. That's a very simple system and it is wired to an independent body that constantly monitors what is going on. Very simple. Again, there's an individual who talked about our roads. Our roads have not been modernized commensurate to the number of cars that we have on the roads. Our roads were built for a settler community. It was supposed to be, Mr. and Mrs. Whatever Smith driving their car on a Sunday afternoon, and that would be the only car for the next 2-3 hours. Now we have constant individuals on the roads. We have bodas, we have mkokotenis, we have everybody on that road, and it's still that same road that is pre-colonial in its design. We need to address a lot of those issues. We need to address how wide our roads are. We need to address the fact that they're not lit. We need to address that there is not enough signage. We need to address the fact that even some of these tinted cars that we have, if it comes out of the manufacturing factory with a tint, that's fine, because that's tint that, yes, it's been tested with light and everything, but there's this other tint that we put on and you see people cutting out little corners so that they can be able to see clearly. Now that is ridiculous, which means in the night you can barely see.
I hope none of the other panelists have that kind of tint.
Well, I've done some and don't look like, they don't look like they drive that kind of a car. But the point is, there is a lot that can be done in terms of checks and balances, and it is upon us to ensure that we push the system to ensure that they will make those changes for us.
Okay, George.
Well, I think let's just call the bluff here. The people who cause accidents are road users. Non-road users don't cause accidents on road. So it is everyone who uses a road is a potential accident doer or maker. We'll talk about the drivers, but the pedestrians who are guilty. The parents who leave children to play near the road are guilty. The policemen and those that don't put signage as ought to be, and so on and so forth. The build-up of the road in itself without warning of this and that, and the designs of the road and so on and so forth. So where we start and where we stop on this is a whole big narrative. But however, ultimately, the road user is the main cause of the accident. So you can blame government, you can blame anybody. Ultimately, you, the road user, must take your responsibility. Ultimately, you must follow the law, because that's where order is. Okay. And we must probably sum it up by saying social order is created by the norms that we've created, by the laws that we've created. We must learn to follow and obey the laws, because they organize us.
Okay, and on that note, the SMSs, my goodness, let me just try and read one as we wind up. Dr. Odada from Kisumu says, I recently drove from Kisumu to Kigali and saw what happens in Uganda and Rwanda. Let Matiang'i take a driver, use the road to Rwanda just to learn how to manage drivers and police. And somebody else here talks about what they've been trying to do to try and keep other drivers in check. They say that they report the police sometimes when they see people driving badly. Like this one says, he reported to police in Salga about how some buses were being driven as well, basically trying to say that he's tried to play his role in keeping others accountable. Clearly a discussion that we'll be having again over the next couple of days and weeks, but hopefully one that will lead to changes in how we manage transport in this country. On that note, George Kipi, Mary Mwangi, Dason Omari, thank you so much for finding time to be here with us. And you haven't had your Christmas early, unfortunately.
We should tell Kenyans have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Drive safely, be driven safely. be a good pedestrian, respect the rule of law. Later, because if they all die, who is going to watch us next year?
That's correct. And everyone be safe wherever you'll be over this festive season. Time now for a short break. But before we take that break, Lydia Ndwiga and her team are ready to give us some more music to get us into the right mood. Have a listen.